Hello, true duelists. My name's Craig Fay, and as always, welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Update. This weekend kicks off the return of YCSs following the World Championships at the beginning of this month, with this weekend being host to two separate events, both the Team YCS in Santiago, Chile, as well as the return of YCSs for Europe with YCS Lille in France. Both of these events are not only the first YCSs following Worlds, but also the first YCSs of our new format. And let me tell you, it's pretty damn familiar. Or, that seems to be the case when you take a look at the regional results from this past weekend. At just a glance, you can see the familiar faces of the meta by and large. Tenpai Dragons and Yubel are still strong, despite losing a grand total of one card each at 2 copies each. And there are still plenty of runner-up decks that you're familiar with, things like Memento, Labyrinth, and Ritual Beasts all getting tops as well. And because they aren't gone, Snake Eye variants are still around, because this is hell and there's no escape from it. You mostly are seeing Fire King variants to make up for what it's lost on the ban list, but thankfully Twitter users have already told us that the deck is entirely dead, and this is exclusively Yubel format and not a single other deck exists, so thankfully our geniuses have declared the truth. Granted, it does seem that Yubel is the best performing deck, at least from the handful of regionals that I looked at, in terms of overall representation, and also of note of the largest size of player base at said regionals. Which makes enough sense. The only thing it lost was 2 copies of Spirit Gates, and notably, not a single Yubel card. Crazy how Yubel still works when you can play all the cards. But that doesn't mean Snake Eye is out entirely, be it in the Fire King variants or in the Ignorant with the hits, because fuck it, Flamebridge is still a card and I only need to resolve my 1 Snake Eye Ash anyways. We won't know, of course, until the events happen, but I won't be shocked if Snake Eye is still in some amount of the top charts in the pie charts. Really, the strongest hit to Snake Eye might not have been from the ban list itself, but it might have come from the fact that people are fucking sick of it. It is a weaker deck now, and not being the definitive best deck means that you can justify not playing it on top of the desire to no longer fucking play it that so many people have. And I wouldn't be shocked if people opt for Yubel just because it's using a summoned effect that isn't Snake Eye Ashes. That's a damn tempting proposition in the current day and age, let me tell you. And you might think that time will tell whether or not Yubel or Snake Eye is the best deck, but you'd be an idiot for thinking that because the fucking YCSs will tell us. Yeah, the results at the top tables. There are 4 YCSs total between now and the release of Rage of the Abyss, which will bring the Azamina cards that gave Snake Eye extra punch over in the OCG. And so it's not impossible that Snake Eye could be back even if they're gone for the next 4 YCSs. As said, it's YCS Lille for Europe, and of course the Team YCS Santiago for South America. And I'll be talking about them all. The results didn't happen in 1 week's time. I'll talk about it next week, and I'll probably clickbait the results in some capacity. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll clickbait some other nonsense, like I did for this week with this story that I'm going to talk about now. Because holy shit, it's the beginning of the end for an era in regards to Yu-Gi-Oh! With the OCG October 2024 ban list being one that makes TCG players go, yup, the OCG is better always. Because you just have to look at this list and ignore shit like SP Little Knight 2. The latest TCG ban list moved 29 cards around and was met with mixed to negative reactions. And now, not to be outdone, the OCG has moved 34 cards on their ban list, and one of them is fucking Max C, and that's the only thing that matters. The Roach is dead, folks. And by dead, I of course mean alive and well, because it's only been semi-limited. Obviously, this follows the release of the Molcharmi cards, and in particular Furos, because that thing may as well be Max 2 in a practical sense, seeing as it gets you draws when summons happen from either the main deck or extra deck, which are like the 2 most abundant, or at least the extra deck is certainly. And it's Bird, which means it's fucking evil, which means you can't argue with me and it's right. Right next to the Jellyfish and probably some future fire attribute land creature that will give you draws when the opponent summons from the grave or the banishment as well, which makes for a total of 12 Max C-esque cards in the format once we get that fire one presumably, and 6 Max Cs in a realistic term because who's main decking Perulia? Not you, I hope. Granted, it's some bullshit, so it makes sense to remove the strongest one in the form of Max C. and encourage you to play those other newer cards. And you can semi it to just test the waters and ease players into a format without the bug. Still, regardless of whether or not you like the bug, I fucking don't. And so, as I said to my friends, I am right and I am vindicated, baby. No arguing with this shit. Oh, and you know, the other 33 cards that moved on the list can be talked about as well. Beatrice joins the Hall of Banned Xyz monsters that can send any card from the deck to the graveyard, of which there are now 2 of them, and you can insert the nickel joke here if you'd like to, but I didn't. Instead, I'm hoping you'll think that insert the nickel makes like a vending machine joke. That's a lie. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. There are a number of cards that have moved from 2 up to 3 with absolutely no realistic impact on the metagame at all. Things like Mi Amigo Pearly or the Dragon Rulers, and even things like Lightning Storm or Regeki going up to 3 are pretty minimal changes in the grand scheme. More interesting is something like Nightmare Throne going to 2, or the OCG starting the slow hits to floodgates apparently by putting Gozen Match to 2 and nothing else. That exists. Gold Sark to 2 is maybe interesting if you are Copium Thunder Dragon player, or maybe realistically to push Malice since that's a banished deck. And then there's of course the limits, the actual hits to the meta game. The OCG is bringing back Dragoon, which is huge if you remember what the OCG was like in 2019 and 2020, because they just could not let that shit go. But Verte is banned, so who cares? Masterpiece, the Draco Slaying King, is back, and that's another change that I cannot argue against it. It makes sense why they're doing it, but that doesn't mean I have to fucking like it. I just dislike it on principle. I'm not saying it's going to be good. I'm just saying I don't want to have to fucking deal with it. And of course, there's the actual hits to the meta. Limits to Bonfire, Poplar, Tenpai Chundra, Diabellstar, Phantom of Yubel, Fiendsmith Engraver, and Tract are all very noteworthy hits. And they even hit the Tract, so you can't just swap the ratios to search your light fiends. It seems like they've actually done a good job at hitting Snake Eye and Yubel on this list, with only 1 Phantom, no Beatrice for any Fiendsmith shenanigans, and of course with these changes, that means in the OCG, Diabellstar, Wanted, Ash, Poplar, and Bonfire are all at 1. And those are about as the most consistency hits as you can put on a deck at this point, isn't it? Of course, there's no hits to Yugioh, which is a popular thing right now that could signal the complete end of Snake Eye from at least one of the regions that plays Yu-Gi-Oh! So that's at least some amount of copium, hopium, and maybe just I'm dummium. Possibly. I think it's going to be a big change up with the new decks and of course these hits, but who knows? Because there's only one way to really change and shake up a format in general, and that's by taking the 6 copies of the main deck Max C in the game and crank it all the way down to 5 copies. So now the OCG is saved, folks. It totally changes everything. There's also some interesting news from the K-Man himself, which is for some reason the name I've given to Konami the past few months for no particular reason. Like I said, I just have a debilitating case of brain rot. Still on Monday, Konami held a stream showing off some of the new cards that are coming in Rage of the Abyss 3 weeks ahead of the set's release. And you may wonder, why would they do this for Rage of the Abyss but not the Megatin, such a huge product for them in the past? And well, fun fact, that's because even Konami knew ahead of time that the tins are shit. And they are. Still, the excitement was real, as we got to see that there's at least one awful to pull secret rare from the set with Primite Lordly Load, which is possibly a sex joke, but definitely the name for the continuous spell of the Primite engine, formerly translated as the Primordial engine, the vanilla monster support that you had completely forgotten about. Not to mention the confirmation on Ulcanix being in this set for Fire King players, and the reveals from God's chosen content creators over the course of the week to show off the new archetypes and support coming in the set that we learned about from the OCG revealing them 4 months ago. That includes the Mermail support that you might be able to figure out that I'm a fan of based on my goddamn channel icon, and of course, they're really sparkly, so I guess my wallet hates it, but when I get them, it'll look pretty. And best of all, of course, the reveal of the Mimighoul support for its second wave. And my god, Konami did the impossible. They released a Wave 2 for a TCG exclusive deck, and it's not fucking terrible. And more than that, they didn't shove a useless fucking fusion into the deck. Rip to my fellow B troopers, but Mimighoul got a fantastic Xyz that does so much for the deck, on top of all the level 1s that can swarm your field and help you to actually make plays you want to make. That, and there's even a Draw 2 spell card, where the Draw 2 effect is not the ideal one. You want the other one, but you'll probably just get to Draw 2. pretty damn good. Probably not top tier, but certainly able to compete, which is so vastly above the things like Testina and Ashen that came before it that I am actually fucking shook to my core. Not a bad way to kick off the showcase of the set. There were also reveals, I said, throughout the week, and it's no shock that there are things like Dominus Impulse being a secret rare, and of course we can look forward to the release of this set come October 19th, or dread looking forward to it as it brings Maxi 2 into the TCG, and the fun and freedom we've had to not deal with that bullshit dies forever.
I'm tired, boss.
And also this week was a bit of news from the OCG about support for some fan favorite decks. The Quarter Century Trinity box will be released on December 21st, 2024 in the OCG, with support for the Orcust, Punk, and Dragon Maid archetypes specifically. As of now, nothing is known about what exactly the support will be, how many cards are in it, and what the cards even are, just that there's for these 3 decks. Which is exciting news for the people who shower the least at your locals, with the potential for the fabled Chamber Dragon form to be at last printed into the game. They teased it in that one art book some time ago, and at long last I'll be free of my friend Mark bitching about where's the dragon form for Chamber, and instead I'll get to hear him bitch about why is the new support bad, or even worse for him, what if he has to bitch about why is the support great and now he's been priced out of getting it because it's meta viable. So many potential funny options, and they all lead to the same things in life. Everything just being something for Mark to bitch about. Thanks, Mark. There's of course no time frame for when these would be coming to the TCG either, since all we know now are that we aren't getting this. This is a set that comes with reprints and accessories such as sleeves, a storage box, a keychain, and a special clear card for whatever the hell that means. And you can instead look forward to rarity bumps in a side set with no other valuable cards in it to help inflate the already obnoxious waifu tax on any of these given decks. And remember, it's not Konami's fault, it's yours for being a degenerate. Or liking anime girls. One of the two, maybe both, either way, financially, that's a fucking mistake. Don't try to lie to me. We both know how this shit works. And so that wraps it up for this week's update. As always, I've been your host, Craig Fee. Thanks for watching, and feel free to hit subscribe. Not only will you be impressing your smoking Italian wife, but you'll become a true duelist who helps the number go up on my channel. And what could possibly be better than that?